post-game show after the second preseason game for Boston, and we came in tonight, Josue. Ahmed actually texted me, our producer, and was like, "Who do you think's not going to play tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe Tatum will take a seat. Horford definitely, right?" And then take a seat here with Joe right in front of us, and goes Drew, Kristaps, White, blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, here we go. So
You were mad.
yeah.
Bobby was pissed. He's like, damn, I didn't come here for this.
I thought for sure White and Holiday would get some extra run after.
I was thinking half of those guys probably wouldn't play, but it looks like the top six were out today against the Knicks.
So we'll see the starters again on Wednesday, I'm sure. Celtics bench got a chance today. We saw quite a few new faces that we'll get into for most of the post-game show here today. Given that Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Horford, Holiday, and White all sat out this game, Celtics went with a starting lineup of Hauser, Brissett, Cornette started, as well as Peyton Pritchard and Delano Banton. And let's start with Banton. Great performance from him, I thought. I was intrigued by him ever since he said in his summer league press conference or media day press conference that he's been doing a lot of screening, a lot of off-ball action, a lot of studying of the reads. And we just talked to him in the locker room just way, and he said he's been here for a while learning this system. And you could see it tonight. Moved great around screens. He caught the ball and made quick decisions, ended up with 20 points, attacking the rim very aggressively. In a game where I think pretty much everybody had the same game, more or less, save for him and Pritchard, he stood out in a big way, just the way he moved, the way he attacked, and the way he passed, frankly.
Yeah, especially when he was in attack mode, which seemed like every other possession when he was in the game, right? And I love that to see that out of him. And yeah, he told us in the locker room that he's been around the Auerbach Center, he's been around the team for about 2 months now, and I think it shows. I think it shows in his reps and obviously in his approach. I always feel like he's the kind of player who wants to just adapt seamlessly, and which is obviously a lot. That's what most people want to do. That's what everyone wants to do, right? When they're trying to seize this opportunity. But the way he's been doing, the way he's been going about it, you can see the rest of his teammates follow his lead, and I think that's a great sign of someone that's getting it. You know what I mean? I feel like he's definitely one of those guys, and he certainly looked very comfortable out there, knowing that he had that green light, knowing that it was 6 guys out and he was gonna be able to relax and just really run the offense and just get more comfortable out there. And I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, and that wing spot, I know he's a point guard. I think more about him as a wing here just because of the fact that Holiday's in front of him. You have White in front of him as well as Peyton Pritchard now. He's going to play more of a wing style on this team, and it made sense the way they used him tonight in this one. He's not running a lot of the pick and roll. He's not bringing the ball up much. He's catching the ball and either shooting or getting downhill and making some passes out of those spots, and he looked good doing it because this is a guy who has the height at 6'7", has a great physical profile, very long, good defender. You saw him disrupting some stuff tonight as well, but the shot kills him, and even tonight, 1 of 5 in this one. Defenses will back off him if he's the guy bringing the ball up the floor, even if he's, catching the ball in the corners and stuff like that. So 1 of 5 still leaves a lot to be desired there. It's going to be tough for him to break through if he can't shoot the ball, especially, the way Joe wants to play Josue. But you see the flashes here still. And, I asked Nick Nurse about him, and he was pretty honest because this is a guy that had his ups and downs under Nurse there in Toronto. And he was like, he'll look amazing one night, and then he'll look bad the next night. He didn't sugarcoat it at all.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up to him when we were in the locker room. Because it's funny because when he was talking about adjusting and all that, that quote popped in my head. I mean, this is just last night, right? This second night of a back-to-back. So, I mean, obviously I was going to go out and ask him, but it's interesting to see someone like that who comes from a coach who said what he said, 24 hours ago. And then you think about him in front of us, right? Talking about, well, I've been in the, I did training camp and all that, but I've been around for 2 months. And I'm like, okay. So this guy was ahead of things. He wanted to be ahead of things. And I think
right, and it shows, right?
Exactly. It shows. And I think when you look back at that quote from Nick Nurse, someone who coached him up in Toronto, and then you see what he's doing now, and you see how comfortable he looks out there. Clearly, this is someone that's been in the gym for months, and it's not just him, working out or doing one-on-ones with his trainers. He's been doing this with Celtics players and clearly picking up things that Joe Mazzulla wants to see out there on a regular basis.
For sure. And again, it showed how prepared he is. He was with the Summer League team too, of course. Battled a little injury out there, but got some reps with them as well. If they want to tinker around with these zone looks as well, he came from a defense in Toronto where they did those things. They played a lot of wacky defenses, some box and one up there as well. So he has
Yeah,
experience with
that's
that.
true.
And that makes him useful on this team. He's playing on a non-guaranteed deal. I think it's almost certain he's going to make this team. I think they really like him. Maybe he can play a little bit in Maine as well, to get some time on the ball, to keep developing, keep that aggression up. Because him, O'Shea, I'd even throw Hauser into this mix, and we'll get into some of the other wings who are vying for those spots.
Yeah, he's been struggling. Well, offensively, he's been struggling, but yeah.
These guys aren't going to play if they're healthy in the playoffs and on most nights. They have a lot of guys with different skill sets here, and we just hit on Banton's, but it's going to kind of be a backup wing spot by committee. And, I asked Joe tonight what he's looking for out of that spot. And what do you say? Toughness, physicality,
Yep.
guys
High
who
IQ, making
guys,
the right plays.
Yeah, guys who understand what we want to do. And doesn't that describe him perfectly?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why if you're Joe Mazzulla, you go out, you do something like this, right? You kind of put guys on the spot, but you want to see where they are in their development, and this is the perfect time to do that. Second game of the preseason. It's the second night of a back-to-back. Guys played, a lot of those starters played over 25 minutes last night. So it's good. I mean, this is where you find out, this is where you see those guys stand out. And Banton was easily the one that stood out the most, in my opinion, out of all the other Celtics players. And if you're Joe Mazzulla, you feel a lot more comfortable bringing him along. But I agree with you, Bobby. I do think that he's someone that's going to make this team, even though he's not on a guaranteed contract. However, there's a spot for him, for someone like that who can kind of control the offense, not afraid to take matters to his own hands of attacking. It's not someone that's going to be reckless with his shot selection. At least he hasn't shown that yet. And you wonder how far along he goes with the rest of this team. But yeah, I definitely think his game stood out the most against the Knicks tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Brad mentioned it too, looking for those second draft guys. You don't have a lot of draft picks. He hasn't taken guys in the first round. So you want to take a bet on a guy like this who's still in his early 20s, who still has that development upside, who already developed a little bit in a different spot. And that's how it works here. You look at some of the young guys the Celtics have here, like a J.D. Davison, who I thought played decent tonight. They're at that ground floor where they're just starting to dip their toes into the league. And you don't know if the team that takes that guy or drafts him or signs him out of the draft is actually going to see that development through. Like, I think it's more likely than not that Davison's going to make the NBA, but not do it in Boston. Banton, he stepped into this league in Toronto, gets his chance now in Boston. Maybe that's where he breaks out. O'Shea Brissett started in Toronto. They developed into the G League. He got that shot with Indiana. Now, maybe breaking out with Boston here. So this is how it goes. Like, the team that drafts you isn't going to be the team that you land with. And he talked a little bit tonight too, and his interview will be up on CLNS Media about what appealed to him going to Boston and just the whole program, being a Celtic. That stuff meant a lot to him as he came in here. And you obviously saw some real dedication of being around the team, getting in early and learning this system, because you just keep hearing it from Joe. Who's going to understand and do what they want this team to do? Who's going to execute? You said it to him, Josue. You go, you normally don't care who wins or loses preseason games. And he's like, that's easy for you to say.
What a Joe Mazzulla comeback too. But it was like he was.
But that's what
he knew where I was getting at. But it's just funny for him to say that. But no, he said that because it's like, you're not supposed to be like, oh, it doesn't matter who wins or lose. But he's looking at.
That's how he's judging these guys. Can they play winning basketball? Like tonight.
But no, he said situational basketball.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way he's looking at it. So situational basketball is like, okay, you may have did the right thing in certain situations, but it doesn't always equate a win or victory, right? So that's what I was getting at. But he was, I looked at it as like a coach who can't flat out say like it's not about if they win or lose, especially in this game where this game was still in the Celtics' reach in those final couple of minutes.
All right, we'll get to some of the other guys battling on the wing here, because I do think that was the story of tonight. Those different perimeter players vying for minutes behind Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all got a chance to show their stuff here tonight. I thought Jordan Walsh was decent in the second half in his first run there. Shvi Mihailuk hit a lot of shots. He was great from beyond the arc tonight. Hit a long one from three.
Quick release.
Started slow, finished strong. Another good game from him here. And Sam Hauser, we should get into him. But first, HelloFresh is our sponsor here tonight, and they've They bring back a great deal for this fall here. Excuse me.
Yeah, you hit something.
HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. You're going to get 50% off and free shipping on your first order here. And if you haven't heard me talk about before, hadn't heard us talk about before, we are huge fans of HelloFresh. We know a crazy schedule can make it easy to fall behind on your dinner time routine. So keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week. Always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. In-season ingredients, so you know you're getting something fresh. What else with HelloFresh here? And they do all the shopping and meal planning for you, so you don't have to cut up all your ingredients. You don't have to portion out your seasonings. You don't have to search the grocery store for all the little things. I know John says it all the time, Josue. You hate not having that one ingredient you need for your recipe. But with HelloFresh, you got it all. It's all prepackaged, sent right to your doorstep. And they got a lot of other options right now. Seasonal fitting recipes for fall, like apple cider cake, caramel sauce, barbecue pulled pork nachos sound great. Mini pumpkin cheesecake. You can't beat the pumpkin this time of year. So go to HelloFresh.com/CLNS50 and get this great offer here. 50% off your order, as well as free shipping when you head over there. I love the meatloaf. Sherrod as well. The fish package is great. You can customize when it comes, what you're getting in each order, and how often you're getting it, which is good too. So again, get 50% off and free shipping when you head to HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Love them. Great product, all fresh to your door and ready to be portioned out, prepackaged, and done in just under 30 minutes. Most of these meals,
Easy
so
meals too,
it's quick
delicious.
and easy, and they've got laid out instructions as well too if you're not used to cooking. So it makes it fun too in that regard. Love HelloFresh. HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Let's get into Hauser. I don't want to overreact to this, but one thing we said coming into camp, Josue, is that he had a great year, shot well, showed out defensively, but the Celtics brought a lot of guys to compete with him here. And I asked him on media day, you feel like you're under pressure a little bit here? You think you're going to be competing for your spot that you had last year? And he said, yeah, you always got to feel that way. And he is not shot well. I know it's just 2 games, 16 shots here, but he's now 3 for 16, mostly shooting threes. Rebounded well, as you can see in this one. So, you're going to go through your shooting highs and lows. We got to see a couple more games of his. And I'd still say, even after the start, that backup wing position, among all the guys we've mentioned here tonight, is his to lose just because he did it last year. You saw him do it. He played well in the system, and he defended well, which isn't a given for any of these guys. But 3 of 16, you are going to start to look at some other guys here and be like, can they make shots? And when you have a guy like Mihailuk come in who has that shooting pedigree too here, the gap's not huge between him and the other guys. It's really not.
I agree with that, Bobby. And the only thing is, like, you can say it's his, spot to lose in the rotation, but you feel like, at least I do. I get the sense that he already lost it during the playoffs, right? I mean, that's where a lot of guys lost Joe Mazzulla's trust, and I don't think you just get it back like that. I think you have to go out and earn it. And like you said, I mean, Svi, he's got a legit shot at taking over that spot. When you look at what he does compared to what Hauser does, they're very similar, in their offensive approach. But you wonder if Sam Hauser is gonna take things to another level, and that could happen. Shooters are going to keep shooting, and I don't think this is going to be the norm, right? This percentage is not who he is. However, he's got to find other ways to make an impact, whether that's converting backdoor cuts, playing better without the ball, stepping up on defense. I mean, he did improve his defense after January, I would say, last season. I always remember when I feel like Joe Mazzulla put him in the doghouse during that back-to-back set against the Hornets, and then when he stepped his game up, New Yorkers are so loud, for no reason. But he started.
Hey, they got a big win tonight.
Focus, and I think that's what put him back into the rotation. But then he fell right back out during the postseason. So you wonder where Joe Mazzulla, how he feels about Hauser going into the regular season. But there's still plenty of preseason basketball, and you want to see him turn this around. Not only from a shooting standpoint, but just from an overall offensive standpoint. Find other ways to be effective and put your fingerprints on the game. I mean, rebounding is big. I love that he's continuing to do that, so that's a good thing for him. It keeps him certainly in not even the race, I should say, but certainly in contention to hold down that spot. But he's got to do a little bit more, you know. And he's got a few more opportunities here throughout this preseason schedule.
He defends too, Hauser, and the one thing, you look at the shots Mykhailiuk hit tonight, and they were impressive. The ball handling too, a big advantage for him over Hauser. He can create a little bit, pass a little bit. Did you see the putback he threw down? That was pretty athletic. You don't see Hauser doing that a ton, even though he did dunk a couple times late in the schedule last year. But Mykhailiuk, you saw tonight, really struggling to defend, stay in front of guys. It forced the defense to overreact, to hedge off some other shooters to help him out. Teams are definitely going to find him when he's on the floor. And not to say Hauser has an all-defensive team coming his way, but Mykhailiuk much more susceptible to getting driven by here, being targeted. Switching scheme, I think, is going to be difficult for him here. So that's another edge, I think, Hauser has off the bat with him. It's interesting, too. You do have some parallel skill sets going head-to-head here on this roster, too. We mentioned Banton in that ball handler role alongside Pritchard with better size, with more defensive versatility. So you do have two guys kind of vying for the same spot in a bunch of different roles. Pritchard and Banton as ball handlers. Mykhailiuk and Hauser as shooters. And we'll get to Lamar Stevens and O'Shea Brissett too, but those are your
defenders.
Hustle, rebounding, defending, spurts of shooting, but definitely the weaker shooters of this group. Larger wings. Who are probably going to play the 4 a little bit more than some of these other guys who are more 2s and 3s. So there's a one-on-one battle going on in pretty much every position here, Josue. And are we going to start to talk about maybe at center too, between Queta and Kornet? Gabriel sneaking in for a little bit. I don't think Kornet's position's locked up by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a shoo-in, but you would think if you had to pick one out of the 3, that he's still the favorite, at least as of now. I mean, it's still early, but this is the type of game I felt like he could have separated himself in a way. And he was all right. What did he play? 20 minutes. You know, didn't really show you a whole lot. I felt like other guys.
Kornet?
Yeah, Kornet. Yeah, I felt like other guys found their rhythm quicker than he did. But
so here's what I'll say about him.
We'll see how he responds.
People are after him. I don't think he's played great offensively. He needs to contribute more consistently minute to minute, I think, because that's his side of the ball. Defensively, you're going to have stuff happen tonight, like the Mitchell Robinson play where he's getting dunked all over on that second chance attempt in there after the loose ball got secured. But the things he's good at, contesting inside, keeping guys out of the paint. I think the Celtics really like the shots opponents take when he's defending around the rim. And again, you can't do it against every team. Right. If you do have a pick and roll, pull up 3-point shooter, it's going to be really hard to keep him out there. And, you know, he's going against Jalen Brunson and all those floaters, pretty much hitting them at will here in this one. So there's some matchups that are tougher for Kornet. And so you just have to admit going into this year, you're going to have other options. You're going to have to probably play Horford off the bench on certain nights if you want to keep a guy who's able to defend the perimeter a little bit more out there at center. So I'm not going to sit here and say Kornet's your every night backup and this super reliable center, but he's good at the things he does. You even saw it again tonight. That handoff, high post game he plays, good vision, good decisions on the ball. He's not a huge threat to score, but you heard Joe talk about him tonight again, Josue. He hasn't had the best 2 first games, but he's staying confident in him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he always says the best things. I mean, in terms of defensive positioning and getting to the right spot and screening and all that stuff. But I'm just, when you think about what this team's been talking about in their philosophy and toughness and grit and all that, I want to see if he can outshine these power forwards. Because if one of these guys continue to strive in the right direction, whether it's, you know, O'Shea or Svi or Stevens. I mean, look, there's guys that could force Mazzulla and the Celtics coaching staff to just go smaller, you know, with the second unit and maybe bring in one of the guys from the starters, you know, to help, supplement the offense and then go back to the stars to finish the game. So that's always an option too. That's always a possibility as well. So Kornet, I feel like if he continues to do what he's doing, and if it comes naturally to him in terms of like being more productive on offense or maybe creating more defensive stops, getting, I don't know, getting maybe a foot or two ahead of his defenders. Maybe that makes a difference, but I just feel like, especially in this matchup, there was a lot of dunking. There was a lot of, back to the basket.
He's going against Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, man. But that's what I'm saying, though. Like,
right.
There's a lot of there's guys like that, across the Eastern Conference where I feel like it's just a mismatch on a handful of nights, and you wonder if that's going to discourage him. I don't think it will, but he's got to find a way to just sort of just be what the Celtics need him to be, in terms of a rim protector, someone that can be at the right spot. I think he's consistently at the right spot at times, but sometimes he just doesn't make that impact, and I'm hoping that he can change that.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering what people want to see from him, because he's not going to put up a double-double. We've seen him have some big games when he's played a little bit more, but what you need from him are 8 to 10 minutes to spell the other bigs when you do start double big, and just hold it down for those minutes when you're fully healthy. Now, if Porzingis or Horford gets hurt, then you have a discussion. Do you go out and make a deal? Do you bring another guy in? Right now, I think you're showing patience, because if Brad's going to call a GM right now and say, hey, can I get this guy? It's going to feel a little more desperate, right? Because you just traded Rob. You have these guys in here who are mostly unproven, and you're probably going to have to pay a higher price. So you're really losing much by just trusting these guys and having them see it out. I do want to talk about the other options here, though, because we got to see them tonight. Keita fouled a lot, but I thought he showed more agility than I expected from him. Both running in transition and getting out on shooters. So he has that going for him.
He did a good job cleaning out the glass. The dunk was good. I mean, he told us how that that felt
craziest technical too I've ever seen.
That tech was wild. Yeah, he didn't want to say too much. He was already upset at the fact that it's an automatic fine, no matter what. So he's like, let me just.
As a two-way guy, that's gonna hit hard.
Oh yeah, that's like a percentage out of his check. So yeah, he didn't want to say too much, but it's good to see him get out there and get comfortable. I just think that stuff is important when you look at when you see 6 guys, the top 6 guys aren't playing. You want to get as many reps as possible in that game. So I'm glad he was able to do that. But yeah, it seems like one of those guys, just clean the glass, put back, maybe create some second chance opportunities for this Celtics team, and just someone that's not afraid to be physical with guys down low, opposing bigs. But
he's a big body.
He's gotta clean that up a little bit. He's still raw on that end of the floor, right? In terms of clean blocks, clean strips, that kind of stuff. He was just whacking guys across the face almost, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And especially in terms of rebounding and stuff. Yeah, he's got to do a better job of just doing it cleaner. He was very, very, very raw.
Yeah, some of the fundamentals you mentioned there, he's going to be working on in Maine for sure. I think the expectation is he'll be in Maine.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah.
Jordan Walsh, who we saw a little bit of tonight too, I think he'll probably start in Maine once their season gets going. Is it
because he took that 3-pointer at the end, Bobby? Is that why?
I love the confidence, though.
I don't hate it.
5,
yeah,
within one possession.
He almost looked at the
shot.
He almost looked at the bench too, being like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this shit."
Yeah.
When I turn to you, I go, "Bobby, I think he's about to shoot that." I go, "Bobby, he's shooting," and then he just pulled up, and man, if that thing falls, everyone would have been talking about it. So I'm not mad at it.
Let's get to some of those more defensive, physical wings that are going to be competing for minutes here as well, because I think it is going to be one of those guys who potentially steal that spot from Hauser rather than some of the guys we've mentioned so far. But first, a quick word from our official sports wagering partner here in Fanduel.
Been to action this NFL season with Fanduel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
So were you looking at the numbers tonight, Josue?
The numbers for what? Oh, FanDuel
numbers.
No, I didn't. But I'm sure they changed dramatically after they had an announcement about those six guys that weren't playing.
Shout out to FanDuel, FanDuel.com/Boston.
Someone bet on this game. You know that. We talked about that last night, right? Or like someone's betting on preseason games for sure.
Yeah, that is a bold move. I'd rather go with the NFL, but I showed a little bit of respect and love for the Patriots, Josue, and it's the last time I'm ever going to do it this week. I said,
Yeah, I'm about to
this
drop
is,
their defense like a freaking like it's my
this
job.
is the spot where they turn around, and it went the complete opposite direction. But enough about them. No one wants to hear about them. Let's get to this mix of guys here. I got to talk to one of them, Lamar Stevens, who people are excited about before the game. He's taking it day by day right now with the training camp deal. I thought he came in and made some good hustle plays late in this game, cleaning up shots around the rim. He's a really good rebounder for his size, too, 6'6". People love his defense, I think reasonably so. This was a starter on the Cavaliers last year. I'm still shocked he's on the Celtics on a training camp deal. So I think he's in a good position to make this team at the very least. I don't know if he has minutes secured, but he's not a good fit. And I was telling you this during the game, Josue, that him being out here with these other guys who are trying to prove themselves and everyone's hunting for their own shot, and it's just kind of this free-flowing pickup style of basketball in many ways, that's not great for him. I think he's a better fit with some of the regulars on this team. If he was playing with a Tatum and Brown, shooting wide open shots, I think he'd be looking much better than what we're seeing right now, and he's still looking solid. You mentioned O'Shea Brissett, good rebound and good hustle effort from him yesterday against the Sixers. Tonight, I thought he missed a lot of shots he needs to make. But again, still an active, involved performance from him. He's in that mix to, be in that 10 spot with the Bantons and Mihailus and the rest here. And then you have Jordan Walsh, who is young, raw, got called on a tough foul call, reaching in on that first play. That's kind of that rookie treatment from the refs there. Some of the things you have to go through breaking into this league. You mentioned it too, the big shot late, getting ahead of himself a little bit there. You like the confidence, but a tough shot in that spot. These are the guys you're talking about, and I guess you can throw Gabriel into the mix too, who's more of a center, who bring that physicality, who are more defensively oriented. And even though they have some offensive limitations, are going to play with a ton of intensity, hustle, and Joe loves to see that. These are kind of your Grant Williams candidates to replace that Grant role. Someone just said in the chat here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can put it that way for sure. I mean,
no one's Grant, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, because Grant gave you the 3-pointers and all that. That's not what you're gonna get with these guys. Well, maybe a little bit from Stevens and so, but yeah, I mean, you want to make up for that toughness, or not even make up, but you want to have guys that you can rely on that can come in and just defend and rebound and give you second chance opportunities. I mean, those are the guys that this team could always use. This wasn't something that wasn't just Grant out there, right? I mean, they could have been other. The Celtics always needed someone like that, I feel like, or at least in the last couple of years, where they go in, they do the dirty work, and I think guys like Lamar Stevens, when you heard of that signing, you're like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, especially someone that can guard the perimeter, opposing wings. I think guys like that make the team. Whether it's him, you talk about Banton, or you talked about him earlier, but yeah, I mean, I think out of this group, though, he's the one that stands out the most. I love the idea of bringing someone in like Lamar Stevens, again, for what he's going to give you on defense, rebounding. He's someone that's not going to shine in a game like this. I think you put him in with the other, like you said, right? You put him in with the other guys, you're going to see more of that 3-and-D. And I don't think he's someone that's going to shy away from guarding the best player on the opposing team. Those are the kind of guys you want, and those are the kind of guys the Celtics need in terms of having the secondary players that can go out and just create stops, but at a consistent rate. Like, did they have that last year? I mean, when you think about a lot of that, when the Celtics were at their best defensively, it was a lot of those stars that were doing it, right? They don't really have guys like that can come off the bench. Grant Williams did do that, but then he sort of lost his minutes in the postseason as well. And you wonder what Joe Mazzulla, what exactly he's looking for. And you have to think that that's the one guy who stands out the most, Lamar Stevens. But who else is it going to be? Who makes this team? And I think that's how you stand out, by doing things, the little things. It's not always going to be about scoring. Not with this team, especially when they're looking for muscle coming off the bench.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just so many skill sets here. You love what these guys bring to the team. Walsh, Stevens, Brissett, but are they going to hit their threes? Walsh did in Summer League. That's why I didn't rule him out completely from grabbing one of these spots. But the fact that he just got into the game in the second quarter tonight probably doesn't project well for him getting minutes early on this season. But who knows what to expect? There's just so many guys on the lower part of this roster And we mentioned it. Missoula is looking for physicality. He's looking for guys who get this system. And he's looking for guys who can be versatile and, be just involved and active. And I thought no one embodied that more tonight than Delano Banton, who might have had the most uphill battle to breaking through on this roster coming in. But he just looks so much more acclimated than these other guys. Josue, you're watching this game here tonight like we were, and of course you're disappointed the regulars aren't playing, but you're like, all right, let's see who stands out. Is someone really going to have a breakup performance? And we know Pritchard's capable of that, but everyone pretty much had the same game tonight, more or less. Everyone's just out there running around, putting shots up, trying to get theirs. I'm just generalizing a little bit there, but, that's overall what we watch here tonight. Banton's head for the game tonight and the game plan and the system and everything that they want him to do on both ends of the floor. He didn't have a perfect game, but it looked like he'd been playing with this team for a while, and you can't say the same about some of these other guys.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the reps. Like he said it, and it shows. Being in the system, playing summer league helped, and he just seems like a guy who's just getting after it at this stage of his career and doesn't want to go and play overseas, right? I mean, for a lot of these players, that's certainly an opportunity. But when you have a chance to latch onto a championship contender, you take it, And I think Banton's got a great opportunity here to be one of those guys, be a third string guy, but still be a part of this team and can certainly flourish. I don't know if what the future holds. Obviously, it's hard to say with the way things are and the way everything's always changing and second apron and all that. But the Celtics got to be one of those teams who are obviously, as they go into that second apron era, they got to try to retain some of these guys and get it right. Make sure that these guys are someone that are people that have a chance to play and that, have a chance to grow within the next couple of years. We all know that it's not always going to be, the classic story of, they have a great career, 2 years into it, all of a sudden they blossom. That doesn't always happen, but you have to do your best here. And I think the Celtics, they know how important it is to keep, one or two of these guys that you see as a piece that could grow into someone, a much more effective player within the next couple of years.
Well, I think we hit all the bases here tonight, all the guys who played pretty much competing for spots, and it's going to be interesting to see how this battle evolves. I'm sure some other guys will have some breakup performances here that make us change our view, but we're going to go debate, Josue, who's under the most pressure here, because obviously there's going to be some cuts. There's going to be some adjustments to this roster here. So who's really under pressure now after 2 games to secure their spot, stay on this roster, especially given that they're going to need some reliable backups here. So we're going to go debate that. You can go check that out on Celtics All Access when it goes up later tonight. We're continuing on this road trip here, or at least, I'm heading down to Philadelphia. Josue is going to go back, get ready for that Knicks game at home next week, and we'll have coverage of pretty much every step of this preseason. I think it's going to be a full cast coming back for the next post-game show. Of course, it's a weird schedule here with 3 games in 4 nights and then a huge gap until that next Knicks game at home. So I appreciate you guys.
But hold on, Bobby. Since it's preseason, you have an off day tomorrow. You're going to Philly. I want to see a cheesesteak review. All right, I want you to pick a couple spots and try a cheesesteak. Let me know which one you think is the best one. All
right.
Will you?
Look out for that. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Good.
We can put that on social. I know Amit will love that.
Yeah, well, that was easy. I thought I'd have to convince.
I'm not the biggest cheesecake fan, but
that's what I'm saying. I think you were a cheesesteak guy. Oh, okay.
Cheesesteak, right. Yeah.
Anything for the content? All right, word. All right, but I'll get some spots. Appreciate
everyone tuning in tonight. Again, short show. A lot of guys sat tonight. Wasn't the biggest game to
on both ends,
but
the Celtics and this side, but that's all right.
Yeah, so appreciate Josue Pavon stopping by here in New York with me, helping out with the coverage here tonight. As always, great show tonight. Bunch of different performances here. We'll see who breaks through. Again, we're going to have a segment coming here from Madison Square Garden seeing who's under the most pressure now to perform to secure their spot in this roster. Shout out to our sponsors, HelloFresh.com.
Did I say cheesecake?
I said cheesecake. That was me.
Oh, it's like, damn it.
HelloFresh.com/CLNS50. Go check them out. And, of course, Fanduel, our official sports wagering partner here. Go to Fanduel.com/Boston. Get $200 in bonus bets. We're out of here. Thanks, Amit, on the production tonight. As always, Joseph here. We'll say hello to Jimmy and John, get their preseason impressions on Wednesday, and I'll be live in Philadelphia giving you the coverage on the ground. Go check out the post-game pressers tonight, CLNS Media, coverage from inside the garden here on Celtics All Access, and we will see you on Wednesday night.